Okay, welcome everyone. Lovely to be with you all. So please welcome your experience, welcome yourself, the sensations of the body, the hum of the computer, the breath. Be comfortable. Notice the peace, the stillness, the inner tranquility, which lies behind all activity, the background of thoughts, the background of whatever is appearing to you. Turn your attention to your body. Yeah. Invite yourself, invite the body to relax, the shoulders and the belly. We're not trying to achieve anything. We're not seeking any state of the body or of the mind. Being is, we don't need to figure out at the level of the mind what being is. We already are this formless presence, aware, which is free. Free meaning that this presence is not subject to any phenomenal experience. Presence doesn't burn when there is a fire, and presence doesn't freeze when you're in Alaska or in a winter storm. This presence is effortlessly aware. You are effortlessly aware. Each moment, each instant is fresh and new. You never swim in the same water twice. You never perceive the same perception twice. The impression of time appears to you, but you don't appear in time. You are the reality which perceives. And there is only one reality. Unopposed. So your freedom is absolute. It is not the freedom of some imaginary individual or some imaginary entity. It is your freedom as consciousness, as reality, your freedom of being. Not the freedom of the personal character, the freedom to do what you want, or the freedom from certain unhappy events. That is the freedom of some imaginary character. And the freedom of an imaginary character is an imaginary freedom. But your freedom, which is the freedom of consciousness, of presence, of being, is not the freedom to or the freedom from. It is absolute freedom, unopposed. And this freedom is non-phenomenal. It is your very nature, your very self. And this noumenal freedom may appear in the mind as the freedom to celebrate, the freedom to contemplate, to create. It can appear in the mind as a freedom from unhappiness, effortlessly. The freedom to choose. That is one of the ways in which your inherent freedom may appear in the mind. The freedom to reject, the freedom to say yes or no to certain choices. And as the reality which is and which perceives, as the one and only reality, everything is yourself, intimately yourself, like your night dreams are intimately yourself. There's no separation. There is love, not love from a subject towards another object or towards another subject. But the love that is objectless, that does not know anything other than itself. Everything that you perceive and you experience is your very self, not distant from you. Distance is a concept, a model, practical model, useful in a limited sense. Love is not an activity. Someone loving someone else or loving something. Love is non-dual, objectless, and it appears in the mind as I love you, I love him, I love her. It appears in the mind as I love my pet. I love this beautiful mountain. That is how it appears in the mind, in the body. But the reflection of the sun on the surface of the palm is not the sun shining from the surface of the palm. Rather, it is shining from beyond and appears in the mind as reflections of love, expressions of love in friendship. And because you don't exist in time appears in you, in awareness, as thoughts and memories. Every moment is fresh, like a newborn, a new birth, the first breath. And there is a sense of awe. Every moment is a brand new moment. Being. Creation. And as such, we perceive the world moment by moment as beauty, sense of wonder. Without a history. It's not a repetitive experience there. There is no repetition. Repetition is an idea, a concept. So when the eyes can see, they see freshly, they perceive beauty in all. Amazement and wonder. A brand new instant of being. Not events in time unfolding, following each other like a two-two train. consciousness is not in time. And as consciousness, as this reality which perceives right now, know yourself. You could not say, I perceive, without knowing that you perceive and knowing that you are the perceiving element. Not only you know yourself as the perceiving element, but you also know your creation. Because that which you perceive does not precede you. You are the president of creation of all perceptions. And as the president, you know your perception. And you know the source of the perception as your very self. As consciousness, you're already endowed with this wisdom. You don't need to learn it, because you are it. And as this wisdom, as it, you know that whenever you veil yourself, whenever you identify yourself as a person, it is as if a shadow has fallen onto your mind, a certain darkness. Because of the identification with an object, the limited form. Is a very powerful identification, because it is you, the absolute self, who makes this choice. And there is no one to oppose you. That wisdom is yours, that understanding is yours. Even though you may play the game of ignorance, the wisdom is yours. It cannot be the wisdom of an imaginary character, because the wisdom of an imaginary character, the wisdom which belongs to an imaginary character, can only be an imaginary wisdom. And as consciousness, as the one and only reality, everything is this reality. All your wishes and desires are fulfilled right from the start. Nothing lacking. Nothing that you need to seek. Because there is nothing which is not you, and nothing which is apart from you, and nothing which is not yours. And at the mind level, this complete absence of lack is experienced as happiness. Nothing lacking. Fulfillment. Unconditional fulfillment. Absolute fulfillment. We experience it as happiness. That which you are. Love, peace, happiness, beauty, and wisdom and intelligence. So if you have any questions, please make sure to unmute yourself. And also, you're welcome to raise your hand by going to the reaction icon on the bottom of the screen. So any questions?
Hi, Magdi.
Okay.
Hi, Magdi. Thank you for this meditation. I recently spoke with a friend, and we talked about hypnotism, like how collectively we're just hypnotized, only knowing the mind made me. And in this context, we also spoke about guided meditations. And he mentioned how open we are, and how that there is a certain risk involved to also be hypnotized. And I found this interesting, and I just want to share here that I really feel that your meditations, your guided meditations, they feel very intimate. And I have a deep gut feeling that I'm absolutely at the right place at the right time. And I just want to thank you for this precious gift. So there is a certain trust required, maybe to say it this way, to really listen to the meditation and to risk maybe to be open and vulnerable, and because on one level nothing bad can happen. It's always a win-win, because we are always waking up again and again.
Well, I think you can take a look at where did this meditation take you. First, I just want to mention that meditations, guided meditations, are, like Francis says, experiments. We're not going to live our life in life. Is a more activity, of course. So the guided meditation, what does it do for you? What does it reveal to you? How does it appear in your being, in your body? So the guided meditation, you could say, is sort of like a simulation of the natural state. Our natural state is not the activity of the mind, but it is the reality of that activity. The reality of that activity, figuratively speaking, we could say it is the non-activity from which the activity arises, or which takes on the form of activity. So our natural state is non-activity, meaning peace, in the presence of activity or in the absence of activity. And in the guided meditations, in these experiments, of course, we reduce the activity. We're not moving, we're not talking, we're not going to prepare something in the kitchen. And we are somehow taken to this non-activity as our direct experience. And then, of course, in time, after numerous soaking in this non-activity will start to sort of let's say, manifest in the presence of activity. More and more, you will find that there can be all sorts of things happening in your world, in your life, in your mind, in your body. And that peace, the peace of being, the peace of our true nature, our true self, will start to appear within your experience more and more often and for longer and longer periods of time. So it's not so much about listening to what I'm saying and adopt some new beliefs about yourself, or doesn't matter, the words don't matter. It's not about believing anything, about retaining anything. You effortlessly relax, encourage and taken in a way to relax into that which remains, which is the true nature. The mind, the body, relax into being, into presence. Now, today in this guided meditation, I talked about some of the attributes of consciousness. But in a way that we sort of get an experiential sense of what is being pointed to rather than a mental understanding. You don't need to retain or remember or take notes, because it's better to sort of have a taste of the mango rather than take notes about the color, the size, and etc., the origin of the fruit. You know? I am not very knowledgeable about hypnosis, but as far as I know, very limited knowledge about it. That some therapists use hypnosis in order to help their patients to relax around certain obsessions, maybe certain addictions. I don't know too much about it, but I'm not knowledgeable in therapy. And also, some people use hypnosis to trick the mind into perceiving certain phenomenal perceptions, which actually nobody else is perceiving but themselves. And that's not at all what these guided meditations are. No, it's not about any phenomenal perception or tricking the mind into shutting down certain parts of its activity and exciting other parts of the mind. No, it's not at all that great. So what is essential in the guided meditation is that you're interested in the subject, the topic, which is love for truth, which is the peace. It's a love for the peace and interest in the peace, interest in happiness and interest in understanding. This is what fuels your sinking into your meditation, which is just, again, an experiment. In daily life, most of us have a blind belief in separation, the belief in material reality and the non-material consciousness, which is somehow arising out of the material realm or creating the material realm. There is this belief that consciousness is personal, limited, inhabits maybe the brain or the body, is a soul. So there is, in a way, mass hypnosis on the human realm, which is the strong belief and feeling that I exist in time and space. I'm born. My God, what's happening to me? We live in time. We experience the past, and we pray for a better future. As a person, as an entity, we have some sort of sense of some sort of identity, which we can't pin it down, which is sort of, but we still grab onto it and we defend it. We live in a hypnotic realm, because once you investigate the reality of this entity that you believe yourself to be, you only find thoughts and sensations and memories, and you don't find such an entity. So that's really hypnosis. When you're perceiving something which isn't there. So I don't know what the other, I mean, I can't speak about other guided meditations. I only know my own, and Francis, and maybe one or two other people, but I don't know if your friend was actually what you were talking about. So I can only speak from the perspective of the guided meditation that we share. And it's important to understand that these are just experiments. It's not about seeking a state, It's not about that. It's not about holding on to how the body registers the meditation. No, not to hold on to anything. Because holding on is fiction. I mean, there is nobody who's out there. There's no cash register with the cashier there, just taking the tickets and taking the money or whatever. Maybe but still, I think it's a good point to make that it's not about holding on to anything or like remembering anything, or about grasping onto anything, or about wanting to repeat anything. Because a repetition is just imagination. It's every moment is fresh and new. There's no body who is repeating something. It's not like playing jump rope, it's not like that. It's fresh every moment. And yet there is an impact on the body mind that somehow relaxes the body mind, maybe realigns the body mind more in the direction of our true nature, the self, the freedom, the joy, the happiness, causeless peace. It's not learning something new, it's more relaxing. And in the relaxing, in a way, our grasp onto our habits and our notions and our beliefs relaxes. And within this relaxation, what remains is that which is uncreated, that which is not of the mind, which is this transparent presence, this consciousness. awareness being. You follow?
Yes. So I could just say thank you for assisting me in relaxing, because in this satsang setup, I can relax much more than I'm likely to relax by myself.
Yes, absolutely. Whenever we come together as friends in around truth, meaning around love, not around personhood, like shining as a person. When we come around our shared recognition of each other as the same substance, the same reality, the same love, there is a happiness. We're happy. We say, oh, thank you, very lovely that we got together for dinner. It's so beautiful that we went to the concert together, went for a walk together. It's so beautiful. You see? Yes, absolutely. And then,
Hi. I just wanted to say that there is repetition, but the repetition of the words isn't what's important. I think this is what you're saying. It's the repetition of the experience or the noumenal experience that's the important part. The words take us to the noumenal understanding, right? Because Francis says that repetition is the way the body mind learns. I mean, he said it today. And so it just made me realize that the repetition repetition is going on. It's just going on more than one level. And
yes,
that's all I wanted.
Yes, one could say that we learn how to drive a car by getting in the car, over and over, and making sure we learn, when to press the brake and so on. And, we learn how to cook a certain meal by making it a few times and learning what is the right proportion of water, salt, etc., spices. But that's the body, right? It's the body, the body who is, that's repeating the repetitiveness of the body. So there is repetition, you could say, from that aspect. Like you could say that the body is breathing again and again. It's repeating inhalation and exhalation, and it helps for the body to survive, to be healthy. Oxygen.
But the repetition of letting go, not just the repetition of doing things, but what I find valuable in satsang is the repetition of, if the body mind learns anything, it's to stop, it's to let go. And then my being is available.
You could say that, yeah. You could say, of course, it was a repetition of letting go. So when you let go, you are visiting or recalling your understanding about letting go. In other words, you're recollecting your understanding that holding on is a fiction, is illusory, and that it maintains the me. It maintains this so-called character who's holding on. You know? So we recollect our understanding about consciousness. That consciousness does not have hands to grasp onto things. So we recollect this understanding. And the recollection of this understanding arises out of our love for truth. So it's our love for truth. It's like you love to play the piano, and every now and then, out of your love for the piano, so you're drawn towards maybe listening to a Mozart piece of piano, or going to go to the piano yourself and play and celebrate and enjoy. So our love for truth is the main fuel, the main ingredient in our recollection of letting go. And yeah, one could say that there is a repetition. It's okay, that's okay to speak it that way.
But it's not like a hypnotic intention. I wanted to address that. A hypnotic intention.
No, love is.
I mean, to address Holger's question, I also have an understanding of the dangers of hypnosis, actually. So I know what he's talking about, and you're not implanting ideas. You're sharing an experience or an understanding, and it doesn't have the same effect. That's all I wanted to say.
Everything that is being shared, you have to test it out, check it out, make sure that you're not buying any goods from anybody, because that's not helpful to buy the goods, because they're going to rot. It has to be your own discovery, your own experience, your own understanding. So it's really important that you bring your inquisitive mind, the mind of inquiry, to question, to seek clarification, to doubt, until your doubt is no longer, and it's if it's not your understanding, it's no use. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can be trying things out, although they're not fully your understanding, but not in order to adopt a new belief, but to see how it works, to see how that shoe fits. And you may find that it doesn't fit, and then you just, after a little while, you throw it away. You give it, you take it down to the Salvation Army or whatever. You give it away. But if you find that the shoe fits and it's really comfortable, then that's your experience. It's not definitely not about adopting any new belief. And the meditations, they're not about any beliefs. They're experiments in relaxation and in verifying that your experience applies to the spirit of the meditation. In other words, if we're talking about, the reality which perceives is transparent, this transparent presence, and you're checking, you're verifying, that's your experience. But you don't have to adopt this belief, even if you don't know what you're doing. Because in meditation, you're not really, it's more like you're being a sort of guided to the promised land, but not in order for you to purchase a ticket, or in order for you to it's more an inner recognition, that in fact it is your experience that you are the promised land.
Thank you. That's just what came up for me. I appreciate it, Magdi.
Absolutely. Okay. Any questions?
Magdi, Sam posted a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay, Sam, right. Isn't danger of any kind, like hypnosis, is proportion to a belief of being a separate entity, of the entity endowing the hypnosis? In other words, how can one unified being wants anything helpful for itself? Yes, absolutely. Yes. In our meetings, it's always consciousness talking to itself. It's never somebody who knows better or who's got it speaking to somebody who hasn't got it. There is no such a thing as somebody who has it and somebody who hasn't. There is no separate entity. That's what's being shared, and you have to see if that's your experience, that's your understanding. That there is a reality, the reality which perceives. That's also being shared. You have to see if that's your experience, that there is a reality which is the reality which perceives, and that this reality is aware and is invisible. It's invisible to the senses. You cannot perceive its color, its shape, and yet it's undeniable. You cannot deny consciousness. Everything that's being shared has to be double-checked you need to double check for you if what is being shared, you say yes to it, or you say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So it's really, really important for you to say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Because if you do perceive or understand, or your experience is otherwise, then it's important to explore it together. That's part of the meetings. It's not about like saying, oh yeah. So what's being shared here is that I is the same I as yourself, is only one I. It's not that it's like a good I and a bad I, or a knowledgeable I and a non-knowledgeable, less knowledgeable I. What's being shared is there's only one I, one reality, one self, and that thou art that, you are that, I am that, I am that. So you need to double check if this makes sense to you. If it doesn't make sense, or if there are questions, then we need to look into them together. It's not about get hypnotized by what I'm saying, and I'm gonna slip the pill to you. While you're hypnotized, I'm gonna slip the pill to you, and you're gonna become disciples of the great guru, some BS like that. No, all that is nonsense. It's an exploration, a joint exploration. It's a sharing, questioning, and wondering, and exploring. And that's what I love to do. That's what I do. And we get together and we just explore this together. Somehow we're interested. There's a shared interest in saying. Hey, Eric. Let's see. I'm gonna hand this up. Let me see.
Hi, Magdi.
Hey, Eric.
Speaking of exploration, I guess out of necessity, can you hear me okay? I couldn't find my microphone hookup.
Yes, I hear you good enough. Yeah.
Okay. It's been a really extraordinary week, or more than a week. Life presenting challenges in the form of family, but it's really the emotional charge is, and I ran across this wonderful metaphor. It's like we keep these prisoners almost, and this relates to kind of like the yoga of the body, almost like we keep thoughts or emotions of, let's say, resentment, which really, someone or some situation supposedly hurt us, or we're frustrated or angry or fearful. And it triggers thinking, and this thinking paradoxically, when I looked at all of this stuff long enough and then just saw the whole thing, and all the commentary stopped, and was just fully present to every sensation, I could see a thought arise, and like a word, and it immediately grabs. You're no longer, you're only present to that. It's like like consciousness just almost shrinks down. But what I wrote was that these prisoners that we hold us prisoner. It's like the bondage of self is these unhealed emotions that we're not willing to look at. Or I mean, I'm speaking from experience, but I think it's the human condition a lot is, unfortunately, and I think this is potentially a great value of the yoga, or some kind of yoga, if you want to put a name to it. Because this is how we get stuck, and this is how I see like families getting in individuals this barrier to being present, and it's this unawareness of, you could call it a blind spot, or
we have this.
We're thinking about something that is not real. It's not. There's some other that we are assuming all of these different images and thoughts about an other, and where are they?
Right.
It's simply not here.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It sounds simple and stupid, but it's like we do it all the time. Yes. And all the dialogue that is just totally yes. The commentary. When the commentary stops, it's a totally different life. Right. I guess my point is, this is kind of what I'm exploring. It's like there's a driver of this, and it can be unseen emotion sometimes, or you can call it identification. It's like someone has these feelings, or there was a me that was supposedly hurt. Where are they?
You know, what drive?
It's like almost like in the body, like a pattern. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What drives everything is consciousness. It's all God's play. There isn't any other force, any other power outside of the one reality, outside of consciousness. So recollections of the past, sensations within the body, resisting the entire play of blaming, avoiding, denying. The game of resistance is God's game. It's all part of the weather. It's the internal weather and the external weather are one weather.
Yes, and I mean it's easy to see in others, of course, and which is something I've known for a long time. But there's some kind of like actually part of this exploration started because of some chronic pain I was experiencing, and going around and around and for different physical methods of dealing with this pain, until I heard that there can be, it's a way of not directly looking. It's like this is an acceptable way to have unacceptable feelings, is to feel a physical pain. It's a very strange thing, but this is a phenomenon in consciousness that happens.
Yes.
And that's helped me. And
so like you are with pain without fighting the pain or without resisting the pain. In the same manner, you can be with other sensations within the body. What we refer to as the psychology of the human mind is basically, you can summarize it down to bodily sensations and thoughts. So in the same way that you can be as presence, as awareness to the pain, to the chronic pain, of course, doing whatever you can do, at the phenomenal level. Similarly, you can be with your family, with all the thoughts and sensations that are brought up in relationships with the family or other thoughts and whatever produces certain thoughts and certain sensations to arise. You can be as the neutral awareness, and so it's a yoga in a way. It's a process by which the more you experiment with being as presence, not as a problem solver, not as trying to figure things out. It's just the more you are experimenting with being as presence, with whatever appears, whatever arises to you within your body, within your mind, within your world, the more you will find stability in situations that in the past used to rock your boat. You will find yourself less and less rocked, or maybe shorter durations. The rocking of the boat is just, it's not a big deal, as opposed to what it was, in the past. So, like, we're provided, like Francis reminds us, with opportunities, to sort of run these experiments, because we have the understanding about presence, about awareness, about the unborn, about the unmoved, about the unaffected, about that which is and cannot not be. Since we already have that understanding, we can apply that understanding in our life during these opportunities, or whether you can call them challenges, if you want. And as we are applying this understanding, then we can get confirmations or not about how what is the impact of how does it work, what is the effect of being as presence, as awareness, as
one of the key things that is important is that it's and Francis would talk about this, many have talked about it, but until you experience it, it just seems like a theory. But it's seeing things impersonally, because there are so many. I mean, it's actually extremely rare to be able to look at some of these things impersonally, these seemingly charged situations, like in a family where there's a lot of conflict. To have the presence with one's own feelings, to just see the whole thing neutrally. It sounds like it's cold or uncompassionate if you try to describe it, but it's a dissolving. It's like a melting.
Everything is impersonal, except that we want to make it personal. We like the personal story. We like to make a story about me and him, me and her, while in fact it is impersonal. In the absence of downloading the personal story, it is just what it is.
The tricky thing is,
we download that story. We download the old story or new story about me and her, me and him, me and them, etc. We love that. We love that download.
Yeah, right. The tragic comedy that makes the world go round.
Yeah, I mean, we get together and we repeat. Oh yeah, oh yes, and then they did this and that and that. Oh yeah, well, that and that happened to me. We love that the downloads. If you look at those downloads, they provide an impression of a personal, like something personal, upon an event which is impersonal, like the weather. Well, she didn't like what I said, and she said, well, this sounds really stupid. What you just said sounds really stupid. What makes it personal? They're like sound waves. In fact, it is impersonal, but when I say, hey, you don't talk to me that way, how dare you talk to me that way? From where, I'm not your brother for you to talk to me. You need to talk to me with respect. Boom. There is the personal download. She and I, him and me, them and I. And then it's like the spool, the tighter, the more you're winding the string around the spool, the spool, like you start with a rubber band and you put another one around, before you know it, it's like holy.
Very, very complicated ball, yeah.
Yes, it's just rubber bands.
Well, here's the sort of the yoga of being a part of, quote, part of a family, and yet not of the family. There's these different, like the internecine warfare. So these different clans, but I'm friends with everybody, and
everybody's gonna beat on you.
I have to be very careful. Like I said something to my niece that triggered an incredible reaction. She's still not talking to me, and it does pain me.
Well,
I don't even know what's going on with her, and
I know family stories. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
You're talking to somebody who has five brothers, and
I was one of five.
Many,
and the in-laws the in-laws are the greatest source of soap opera.
Ex-in-laws.
Or ex-in-laws.
Well, this is that's quite a challenge. I remember, one of the big hurdles I had when I was much younger was my mom. I had this sort of like this strong relationship with my mom, sort of like loving her and protecting her and honoring her and putting her, on a high pedestal next to Virgin Mary. She's I always experienced it's sort of being bound, in my relationship with my mom. But yeah, it was one of those things that sort of had to take a look at, and at some point, come to freedom, not freedom from the love for my mom, no, but freedom from this intricate, psychological relationship. And it's part of, we are served, we're given a deck of cards, and we've got to sort of figure out how to play the game with the cards that we've been given. What is the winning hand? How can I play that hand? And for each one of us, it's particular to every one of us, but we all have family cards. We all have a bunch of family cards dealt to us.
I think what part of the difficulty is seeing so much sensitivity and extreme sensitivity, like with my niece, and how she's so flighty and stressed and easily thrown off balance. And then I feel like there's nothing I can do.
I mean, you don't want to play the me game with somebody who's playing the me game. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you do what you can, but you don't want to now find yourself playing the me game. Because it's completely, it doesn't help, it doesn't bring clarity to anybody. So you can't participate. I mean, you can relate, but you can't participate by being a player in that game. Of course, if somebody is knocking on your door, you open the door. And if you feel that, okay, maybe if you scratch at the door, they will open, then in that case, you may find that there is some way in which you can share some things with her, because there is some opening. But if, she's entrenched into the me game, then there is no room to sort of maneuver around that. Then you don't want to put fuel into the fire.
Yeah, I mean, it's this, I mean, for a while, I felt like by focusing on what I know, so to speak, or the happiness, knowing, experiencing happiness, it felt like in relation to what happened, I was being almost, I can see how it would be seen as like narcissistic, or, you say sorry, but be happy, be free, you let them free. I mean, I'm not a parent, and yet it's like this delicate balancing act of you want to 100% be as happy as you can, grounded in your peace and happiness.
I mean, we are the happiness. I mean, this is what we are. It's just not to put upon our happiness the veil of personhood. Happiness is our true nature. There's no person, there's no body who is happy. That's just an illusion. There is just a happiness, a peace and happiness, our true nature, and we live in relationship as best as we can, hopefully with that understanding, with the understanding that happiness is universal, that peace is universal, that the true nature of your niece is peace and happiness, choosing to play the game of a victim or feeling hurt or whatever, I don't know, whatever the details are. And that's her freedom. The freedom is absolute. It's a freedom of consciousness that is being downloaded into your niece's mind as the freedom to play a game.
It's really all about what to do and where it was coming from. The last thing I want to do is respond as a me from that sense of any kind of telling them what to do or defending anything or
and sometimes there is no
being
response.
a spiritual person or anything.
Absolutely. That would be futile. But I was saying that sometimes no response is a response too. Well, sometimes what is there to say? I'm here. I love you. I hope to see you sometime. Call me when you have a chance. Keep me posted how you're doing. I don't know.
I responded in a way that I can imagine may have sounded cold, but it was wishing her the best possible. It's like you can't really win. It's like you if anything you say is going to be taken.
Whenever I'm sharing something and I get like an impression, an inner sense that maybe it's, it needs to be, I don't know, maybe let's say softened, for example. I encourage myself to pay attention to that, that voice within me saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe you can say it in a gentler way or whatever. I pay attention to that voice. Not a big deal, but then I may edit a little bit what I'm trying to say, or follow up with a little note, because that inner intuition, like you said, I felt like maybe I had an intuition, maybe that was a little cold. That intuition, I somehow listen to that intuition. Not that you have to, but I'm just sharing with you that I somehow hear that voice saying, it's just, why are you being so, it feels harsh, it feels cold.
Yeah.
So,
well,
just sharing some thoughts here.
The only thing I can do now is, her birthday's on Tuesday. I'm going to send her an e-card. And
beautiful, yeah. Oh, great.
Hopefully I can sit.
How old is she?
35.
Oh, okay.
And I hadn't seen her for a long time. And, we spent 10 days together, and she's really, we share a lot of loves, but she's definitely in a different world.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. Does she like chocolate? Does she like chocolate? Maybe you send her a box of chocolate for her, if she likes chocolate.
Well, maybe I'll think of something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just hoping that, it's a warm response, and it's not, but I can't control, however, they're, what space they're in.
Yeah.
It's just hard when you have no contact because they don't want to talk to you right now. So all I can do is just let them be free. And
you can remain open to them and love them, and see how it goes. Who knows how it will unfold.
Anyway, my point was, it's been very much a wonderful kind of liberation to, I think there's a lot in us that we can still be binding us in a way that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
And it's these things that, where we something happens that alerts us. Right. It's like the little thorn in the side. It's like, whoa, wake up.
What matters is that, in the moment when we experience some confusion or some unhappiness, to take a look at that moment, like what is our mind trip? What are we taking ourselves to be? Yes, there are all sorts of things that are, let's say, maybe buried, but what matters is in our life, in our relationships, in our interactions, when there is unhappiness, judgment, annoyance, anger, feeling hurt, to take a look, feeling self-worth, less self-worth, or feeling unloved, whatever, to take a look at what we're assuming ourselves to be.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting, going after unconscious material or any kind of psychology like that. I am, again, what is right now? What are the sensations and the thoughts? It's really simple. It's not so easy, again, though, because of habits of avoidance. I love the title of one of Carl Renz's talks. Is called "The Absence of a Tendency of Avoidance."
Okay. Yes.
He does like his summary of his.
So like avoidance, avoidance and resistance. They're like, mirror images of each other.
Now, why are we so afraid of feelings? Another I had a wonderful teacher named Sydney Banks who would say that. And like Francis says, it's not going to kill you. It's just sensations.
Well, I mean, you know, fear makes sense because fear is what keeps us alive, and so there is a fear calls our attention. It grabs our attention. So it makes sense to have fear, but then you have to look at, okay, is there an actual valid reason for the fear? You see? So fear is like a protecting. It has protecting mechanism aspect to it. It's okay. The fear is okay, but you have to take a look at what are you protecting. If you're protecting your body from a cobra, it makes very sense to be afraid. But if you're protecting your image, from being ridiculed, then you need to take a look at that. And of course, we have the understanding about reality that an image, a consciousness is not an image. I'm not an image. I'm not a sensation. I am a transparent, aware presence. You see the reality that is. So yes, often there is an instinctive confusion when there is a fear that basically says, oh, it's a very valid fear. So, and then of course there is all the mechanism of protection and defense and blaming, etc. So it's at that moment of non-discernment, we're not able to discern between an actual fear, a valid fear, and an invalid fear. So it's
like the natural mechanism turned towards imaginary.
Yes. And the more often we catch that fear protecting the imaginary me, the more we notice that and say, oh, darn. The more we notice that, the less power that fear has, and the less often the frequency of that illusion, the fear about protecting the illusory self manifests, the less it will manifest.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Huh?
It's a work in progress.
Ah, yeah.
Progress.
Yeah, it's like so much energy was taking out of what was driving the, I like that metaphor. I think maybe Ramana gave it, of the fan.
Yes.
Spinning fan. And it's just like a lot of energy was taken out of it. And it's just,
Yeah.
I like Holger's little joke here. Avoid dance.
Avoid dance. Forget it. It's one whole day among us.
Well, thank you. Good discussion.
All right. Nice talking to you, Eric. Good to see you. Good to see you. Okay. Thank you. Very lovely to meet with you all. All right. Great. Thank you. See you soon. Okay.
Thank you.